On Eve, my girlfriend said she was going out with her friends to have fun. Instead, I saw a photo of her and some guy pop up on my social media post. And that guy was a colleague she'd complained about countless times, a guy she knew had a crush on her. I felt a surge of anger and called her, demanding to know what was going on. But she shrugged it off, claiming it was a chance encounter at the lounge and a punishment for losing a game of truth or dare. I was absolutely furious and pressed her further. So, taking intimate photos would be okay too, then? Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time. She actually seemed angrier than me and just hung up. After that, no matter how many times I called or texted, she wouldn't reply. I smoked a couple of cigarettes, but it didn't calm me down. My gut told me those two were definitely not as innocent as she claimed. Who would take such intimate photos with a guy from the office who constantly harassed you? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I grabbed my car keys and headed straight for the address my girlfriend had tagged in her social media post to confront her. The lounge was holding a Christmas-themed night, with free entry for women, but there were more men than women inside. As soon as I walked in, I saw my girlfriend, her cheeks flushed, sitting tipsily in a man's arms. It was none other than Marcus, the guy she always complained about. Marcus is so annoying. He knows I have you, but he's always checking in on me. Honey, you wouldn't believe it, Marcus is so shameless. Today, he actually told a colleague right in front of everyone that he liked me, and he didn't care that I had a boyfriend. When she said these things, she was puffed up with indignation, and her words and expressions clearly had her disgust for Marcus. I even told her maybe he just genuinely liked her, and it was fine as long as he didn't do anything inappropriate. But now, seeing her nestled in his arms, where was even a hint of that disgust? I felt a sudden rush of anger to my head. I walked over and yanked my girlfriend up. Grace, what the hell are you doing here? Quite a few people around us heard the commotion and turned to look. Her friends tried to intervene, but a glare from me made them shrink back. Marcus saw the furious look on my face. He started to get up to pull Grace away, but then sat back down, gestured with his head at me, and provocatively raised an eyebrow. Just as I was about to let loose with some choice words at him, my girlfriend suddenly sobered up. Michael, what are you doing? Making a scene in public, aren't you embarrassed? She said, struggling free and stepping away from me. I was absolutely livid. I'd initially been worried about her being drunk and uncomfortable, secretly hoping that she and Marcus had just run into each other, and she'd unconsciously leaned on him because she was too drunk. Now, I didn't think that way at all. I unleashed all the frustration I'd been holding inside. Grace, didn't you say you were celebrating the holiday with your friends? What's he doing here then? Fine, you ran into each other, but why play such an inappropriate game? And now you're calling me embarrassing? Her friends caught on to my displeasure, and their look of amusement turned to irritation. They muttered, how can a man be so petty? He can't even handle a game? Hearing this, Grace's face flushed even deeper. As if trying to salvage her dignity, she looked up and argued with me. What century are we in? I can't even say hello or sit with a man I know at the lounge? Do you really need to be making a mountain out of a molehill? Making a mountain out of a molehill? I almost laughed from anger. You run into a colleague, play a game, and end up in his arms? And that photo on your social media post looks like you're making it Instagram official. If I had arrived any later, would you have gotten overly intimate and then posted intimate photos? What nonsense are you talking about? My girlfriend was too angry to speak, her shoulders trembling, and her eyes turned red as if she was about to cry. Seeing her with a look of hurt innocence, I felt a pang of reluctance, wondering if I had said too much. As a man, how can you distrust your girlfriend so much, and think such disgusting things about her? Marcus actually spoke up then, putting extra emphasis on the word girlfriend with a sneer. He even reached out and put his hand on my girlfriend's shoulder, trying to comfort her, acting as if he were the righteous one catching me in the act. I was already fuming with nowhere to direct my anger. I slapped his hand away, yelling, who the hell asked you to talk, and rushed at him. I was going to beat him up. Damn it. Before I could even throw a punch, my girlfriend grabbed my hand. She then stood in front of Marcus, tearfully criticizing me. Michael, why are you so cynical? Distrusting me is bad enough, but now you want to hit someone? Apologize immediately. Once you apologize, we can move past this. Apologize? Yes, apologize. Apologize to me and to Marcus. My girlfriend said, enunciating each word very clearly, as if afraid I wouldn't hear her over the noise. If my upbringing didn't forbid me from hitting a woman, I swear my hand would have slapped her face. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my furious mind. I turned and dropped a final line, go with whoever you want, but I expect an explanation from you. As expected, she didn't follow me. After getting home, I smoked half a pack of cigarettes. My thoughts jumped back and forth between Marcus's smug look and my girlfriend's aggressive demeanor toward me. But deep down, I still held on to a glimmer of hope for my girlfriend. I hoped she was just throwing a tantrum because she felt embarrassed, and that she would come back once she calmed down. I sat motionless on the living room sofa. It was almost 3 in the morning when I finally heard the keypad lock on the front door click. My heart leaped with joy, thinking my girlfriend still loved me. But I also felt I couldn't lose face, so I deliberately kept a stern expression, waiting for her to speak first. She sat down beside me, expressionless, and calmly said, "Michael, let's talk properly." This wasn't how I had imagined it. I had expected it to be like all our countless arguments before. She'd cry a little, I'd comfort her, she'd be sweet, I'd comfort her again, and it would all blow over. I didn't speak, waiting for her to continue. What happened today made me realize how immature you are, how possessive and distrustful, and how poor your emotional control is, always ready to resort to violence. She paused there, looked at me, but I still didn't react. As if afraid I'd think it was just her subjective opinion, she added, "My friends all feel the same way." Friends? You call those people who encourage you to drink and take intimate photos with shady men friends? You call those who watch you get drunk and fall into another man's arms without a word friends? I couldn't help but retort. Don't always view people with your cynical mindset, okay? My friends would never harm me, would they? Anyway, after today, I've realized we're not compatible. After much thought, I believe it's best we break up. After hearing all that, I was speechless for a long time. It wasn't that I was shocked by her breaking up with me, nor was I sad. On the contrary, I suddenly felt relieved. I was just surprised that she genuinely didn't see any problem with herself. And normally, she couldn't even come up with a reason to call in sick, but today she was arguing so glibly. I wondered who had coached her. I smiled and said, "All right, I'll give you a few words of my own. Adults are responsible for their own actions. Today, you definitely crossed the line. I don't know who was behind you, instigating all your actions and words, but you accepted it all. This only proves that you are a thoughtless woman with a twisted moral compass." A thoughtless woman with a twisted moral compass breaking up with me? That's cutting my losses, a cause for celebration. Anyway, you should get some rest. I won't leave you stranded on the street in the middle of the night. But when you wake up, I expect you to quickly pack your things and leave. I won't be sleeping here tonight. Since this is such a celebration, I absolutely had to go out and celebrate properly. I stood up, no longer caring about Grace's reaction. I got dressed, grabbed my car keys, and left the apartment. After leaving, I found a random hotel and spent the night. The next morning, I woke up to messages Grace had sent me in the middle of the night. "Even though we've broken up, we did love each other. I hope you won't forget your promise to me, that you'd unconditionally support and help me. My mom is coming from her hometown next week to see me, and I don't want her to worry. Can I stay for a little while longer? I'll move out after she leaves, and I'll split the rent with you for that period. I hope you can understand a daughter's filial piety and be lenient towards someone you once loved. Let's part amicably and stay friends." The information conveyed in those 3 short messages was more baffling than War and Peace. Damn it, why had I never noticed her thought process was completely messed up before? She didn't want her mom to worry? No, she just didn't want her bluff to be called about living in a luxury apartment downtown in front of her family. My only relief now was that I had kept my guard up at the time and hadn't told her I owned the place. My family was quite wealthy, but I always claimed we were just an ordinary middle-class family, and the apartment was rented. I originally PL. And not to reply, thinking she'd get the hint and back off. But then I reconsidered, with her thought process, she might take my silence as acquiescence. So I sent her one word, "Get lost." Sending that single word made me feel completely satisfied. Soon after, Grace called. The moment I answered, she launched into a furious tirade. "Michael, are you even a man? I completely misjudged you. I can't believe how petty you are." I quickly cut her off. Stop. I don't have time to act in some dramatic soap opera with you. Don't tell me we can still be friends after breaking up. From now on, we go our separate ways, stay out of each other's lives, and stick to our own circles, got it? If we can't be together forever, then let's be strangers. Be a decent ex, okay? Grace went silent on her end. I thought she was about to start playing the damsel in distress for sympathy, but surprisingly, she got tough. Ha. Sarah was right about you. A man like you is truly something else. Do you think I'm looking for an excuse to cling to you? Let me tell you, last night Marcus begged me to go back with him, and I refused. I didn't want to hear her blabbering anymore, so I just hung up. It was early in the morning, and my head was spinning from the argument. When I opened my apartment door, I was startled. The whole place looked like it had been ransacked. Except for the large furniture she couldn't move, almost everything else was gone. Even the basic pantry staples in the kitchen weren't spared. She even left a note, claiming she wasn't trying to take advantage of me, but since she'd contributed to daily expenses, she was entitled to her share of the household items. The funniest part was, for all the items with lids, like the frying pan, she took the pan but left me the lid. Right, so this was her idea of half and half. But I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. It was actually good that she cleared everything out. Now I could replace it all with new stuff. After changing the keypad lock on the front door, I cracked open a beer and sat on the sofa, ready for a proper rest. Unexpectedly, I scrolled past Grace's social media post. Thanks, darling, for helping me move and start a new life. Let's do this together. I spat out a mouthful of beer, spraying my phone screen. I frantically grabbed a paper towel to wipe it, and accidentally zoomed in on the picture accompanying her social media post. I saw a living room, smaller than 30 square meters, piled high with all the things she'd taken from my apartment. And there was a comment she posted herself, visible to everyone. My darling worked so hard moving all these things by himself, he must be exhausted. I absolutely have to reward him properly tonight. Scheming emoji, smirking emoji, smirking emoji. It made my stomach turn, and I thought, she must have posted this specifically to gross me out. Below that was a comment from her friend Sarah. Wow, is this Marcus's place? It's decorated quite stylishly. My girlfriend replied, Yup, it is. And he bought this place, he's not renting it. I couldn't stand it anymore. Fine, I shouldn't be the only one feeling disgusted. Better to share the disgust. I'll gross you all out too. I dug out the property deed, took a picture of it, and posted it on my social media, setting the privacy to be visible only to Grace and Sarah. Time to start a new chapter. This apartment is seeking a female owner to join me. Fighting emoji, smug emoji, smug emoji. After I posted it, Grace had no reaction, but her friend Sarah sent me a message. She immediately said she knew I was feeling down, but I shouldn't be putting on a facade by photoshopping a picture just to salvage my dignity. She also warned me to be careful, lest someone with ill intentions see the picture and exploit it. I wasn't stupid, I knew she was trying to goad me into talking, but I decided to play right into her hands. I swiftly took photos of the sales contract, purchase receipt, and property management agreement, and sent them all to her in a single burst. It's just an apartment, what's there to put on a facade about? Should I go to the bank and get a proof of funds to prove myself? The chat interface immediately showed typing, then it disappeared, only to reappear again. After several repetitions, I finally received her message. That's not what I meant. I just think you two are too impulsive. Grace is still a girl, and her ideas are simple, can't you just humor her? I couldn't be bothered to respond to her. A moment later, she sent several more messages, but this time, Grace was indeed at fault. I actually tried to warn her then, but she was a bit tipsy and wouldn't listen. You bought this apartment quite a while ago, didn't you? It must have appreciated a lot. I didn't realize you were such a low-key wealthy guy. Why did you keep it so hidden? Now that your status is out in the open, women must be lining up to be the lady of the house, right? Wow, I didn't even notice how late it is. Don't even think about what Grace might be doing right now, it'll just make you feel worse. Get some rest. If you're upset, you can always tell me. I'm really good at comforting people. These subtle hints made me realize that birds of a feather flock together, indeed. Not a single one of these people had a sound moral compass. I regretted posting that social media post. When I woke up the next day, I saw a message from Sarah. The moment I saw it was from her, I felt annoyed and thought about blocking her. But then I saw the message content, and I was completely taken aback. Grace came to your place to demand compensation, just so you know. Compensation? She'd already taken so many things, what more could she possibly want? Did she suddenly have a change of heart and want to compensate me for being cheated on? While I was still bewildered, I heard a loud pounding on my door. Michael, I know you're in there. Open the door. I need to talk to you. I had just woken up, and my mind wasn't sharp, so I opened the door without thinking. Grace rushed straight into the apartment, heading directly for the bedroom, and sat on the edge of the bed, starting to cry. Michael, you heartless jerk. I was with you for half a year, and you were actually keeping things from me. Haha, so she was after the apartment. Grace continued to sob. Do you know how much I wanted to have a home with you? When I thought this apartment was rented, I scrimped and saved, making sacrifices just to save money to buy a place with you. And it turns out, you already owned an apartment? If you'd told me sooner, would I have had to suffer like this? That ridiculous argument just made me laugh. I said, hold on a minute, lady. We weren't married. Whether I rented or bought this place is none of your damn business. You were living off me here, and I didn't even charge you rent. When did I ever ask you for money? I took you traveling and bought you gifts. Is there any greater total sucker with money than that? I don't care. That's what men are supposed to do anyway. You hid such a big thing from me, who knows what else you've been doing behind my back. I gave you the prime of my life, and now you're saying none of this has anything to do with me? This truly disgusted me. Being thoughtless was one thing, but to be so shameless? Was she always like this, or did she become this way later? What prime of your life? So, the prime of your life only lasted half a year, and now it's all downhill from here, is that it? Well, I guess I should thank my lucky stars. So what do you want now? To apply to be the lady of the house? Does your current boyfriend, who just helped you escape this great place, know about this? Her eyes lit up for a moment, but then she caught my sarcasm. Humph, I don't go back to old relationships, but you can't just get away with deceiving me. You owe me compensation for emotional distress. I thought to myself, this is beyond absurd. Seeing I had no reaction, she assumed I was convinced and continued, counting on her fingers. I won't ask you to split the apartment with me. I know it's yours. But I spent the last half year with you, so you at least owe me some severance pay, don't you? With that, she held up 2 fingers and wiggled them in front of my face. What, yeah? Grace was so startled by my reply that she choked on her saliva and started coughing. After coughing for a while, she stopped. What, yeah? I mean, I want 200,000 for a breakup fee. Hearing her, I didn't get angry. I walked to the window, pulled back all the curtains, and let the sunlight stream in. Missy, open your eyes and look. The sun's up, stop dreaming. Grace didn't get angry either. Instead, she laughed at me. Fine, you won't give it to me, huh? I didn't want to go to extremes, but you're forcing my hand. She then scowled and stared intensely at me. So she came prepared? I almost didn't know whether to praise her for finally using her brain. Now I was truly angry. She came to my place early in the morning to throw a tantrum, and now she's saying I forced her to do this? I said, are you going to leave or not? If you don't, I'm calling the police and reporting you for blackmail. Her face turned deep crimson, like liver. She glared at me with intense hatred, then stood up and left. After she left, I got ready for work. I had barely driven out of the garage when I received a call from the police, asking me to come to the police station immediately. I thought it was a scam call and was about to yell obscenities when I heard them ask if I knew Grace. Was she behind this? I figured I'd go see what she was really up to. When I arrived at the police station with a knot in my stomach, the officer who greeted me gave me a contemptuous look. Michael, right? Someone is accusing you of rape. Rape? Going to such extremes? But I wasn't worried at all. After all, I didn't do it. My conscience w. As clear, I wasn't afraid of any investigation. The police officer led me to a room, knocked, and reported to the interrogating officer inside that the suspect had arrived, that is, I had arrived. Then he gestured with his head for me to go in. I walked in and saw Grace sitting in the furthest seat, Marcus next to her, and a female officer sitting opposite them. The moment Grace saw me, she feigned shivering with fear, then covered her face and buried her face in her arms and sobbed. Marcus's face was a bit awkward. He glared at me intensely, then started to comfort Grace. It's okay, darling, this isn't your fault. Some people are worse than animals. Don't worry, I won't think less of you, okay? There. His expression almost made me want to puke. A fire suddenly ignited in my heart. No exaggeration, I felt my hair literally stood on end, like a cartoon character, steam practically coming out of my ears. Grace, what the hell is wrong with you? What stunt are you pulling now? I couldn't control myself and wanted to rush over and pull Grace up, to make her face me and explain. But the female officer quickly intercepted me, and one stern look made me calm down and sit. Grace cried even harder, mumbling incoherently between sobs. It's all my fault for trusting you so much after everything that happened. We had already broken up, but you pretended to be sick and weak to gain my sympathy. I went to your place with good intentions to take care of you, but then, Grace looked too ashamed to speak, and in her agitation, she even slapped her thigh several times. She truly looked like a chaste and wronged woman who had made an irreparable mistake. I was so enraged that I blurted out, "What the hell are you talking about?" "Sir, please control your emotions," the female officer slammed her hand on the table and said sternly. I tried to calm myself down and asked Grace, "Where's the evidence? You're accusing me of rape, so where's the evidence? Evidence? My unwillingness is the evidence. Even within a marriage, if a man forces a woman to have sex against her will, it's considered marital rape. And we're not even married." Hearing her, I actually laughed. "Have you even read the detailed reports of such cases? Besides, those who were convicted had victims who provided concrete evidence. What about you? What do you have?" I glanced at Marcus and continued, "Be careful not to have something else come up in the tests, or you might backfire spectacularly." Marcus's face clearly darkened significantly. He quickly exchanged a look with Grace. "I have photos. I took so many photos in your room, surely they can prove something, right?" "Photos? What photos? Photos of me raping you? Don't tell me you're talking about our old intimate photos, those don't show you were forced at all." At this point, I couldn't be bothered to argue with her any longer. "Look, if you want to press charges, go ahead. I'll cooperate with the evidence collection and any investigation. But if it turns out you made false accusations, you'd better think carefully. Filing a false police report and making false accusations both carry legal consequences." At that moment, the female officer also spoke up, "Ms. Grace, are you going to file a report or not? But I must make it clear, if you do file a report, regardless of the investigation's outcome, someone will be held legally responsible." Grace was too scared to speak and desperately gave Marcus meaningful glances. Marcus gently patted Grace and said to me, "You're not acting like a man at all. You have no integrity, arguing petty with a woman." I was already firing on all cylinders. I am a man, I don't need to just act like one. As for you, trying to extort money by using your girlfriend's alleged rape, I think you're the real scoundrel. Living off his girlfriend to this pathetic extent, I truly salute you. Marcus was left speechless by my retort and could only try to salvage the situation. "Grace, let's go. We won't bother with someone like this. Just consider it like getting bitten by a dog. Don't worry, I'll treat you well, and I can give you a good life." The two of them walked off, melodramatically comforting each other. After leaving the police station, the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Even though my innocence was proven, it felt like mud had been thrown on my name, and even after washing it off, a foul stench remained. To be inexplicably dragged to the police station and accused of rape, it was truly cursed. It was from that moment on that I began to despise Grace from the bottom of my heart. She kept challenging my bottom line again and again. If I didn't make her suffer a little, she'd really think I was a pushover. Fortunately, it wasn't long before an opportunity for payback presented itself. Ever since Sarah found out I owned the apartment, she had been sporadically trying to chat with me, but I had ignored her. Now, however, considering my plan for revenge against Grace, I decided to pretend to be friendly with her, hoping to extract some useful information. One day, she sent me a few seductive selfies from a fitting room at the mall, asking which outfit looked best. She wanted to buy new clothes for a class reunion. I sensed that an opportunity might be presenting itself. I knew Sarah and Grace were college classmates, so, for the first time, I replied to her message, "Is it a college reunion?" Sarah probably thought her seductive selfies had finally broken through my defenses, so she replied very enthusiastically, "Yes, yes. It's almost 5 years since graduation, and everyone wants to get together. You know how girls are, we always want to look our best at these events, so please help me pick out a nice outfit. Grace will be there too, right?" That was all I cared about. "What's wrong with you? Why are you still thinking about Grace? She's doing great. I didn't realize you were so devoted, loyal and wealthy. Me. And like you are rare these days. I wish I were lucky enough to be with a man like that." Ugh. I decided to be direct. If she's doing well, then I won't be happy. "So, any ideas on how to make me happy?" "What are you talking about? We're best friends. How could I do something like that to her?" Of course they were best friends. They all had a preference for acting like chaste and wronged women. Then think carefully, is her happiness more important, or is your own happiness more important? Sarah started typing, then deleting, then typing again, as if she were making a very important decision. After a long moment, she replied, "So, how exactly are you going to make me happy? The clothes you picked out are nice, but they're missing a very important accessory. She immediately asked excitedly, missing what? A handbag. I once bought Grace an LV bag. She must have shown it off to you as soon as she got it, right? I knew how these best friends were, outwardly inseparable, all honey and sweetheart, but secretly competing over clothes, handbags, cosmetic procedures, and boyfriends. Before, with me, Grace had always outshone Sarah. Now, to get Sarah to work for me, I needed to help her get even. How about this? Tomorrow, we'll go to the Chanel boutique, and you can pick out whatever you like. Sarah was so excited she was almost in tears. The next day, once the handbag was in her hands, she clung to my arm even tighter, constantly rubbing her chest against me, practically begging me to go home with her and jump into bed. Having gotten a taste of the good life, Sarah no longer held back. She spilled all the dirt on Grace, every rotten detail from college onward. I also learned that, besides Marcus, Grace had been maintaining subtle connections with 3 other men who had clearly shown interest in her. Well, she was fishing, collecting admirers. But because 2 of them were quite ordinary, she only kept them as backups. The other was an older, successful man with plenty of money, but he was married. Grace considered herself still desirable enough not to stoop to that level, so she kept him on the hook, occasionally coaxing him into buying her small gifts. How manipulative. Marcus, needless to say, was just as bad. A guy who would help his girlfriend extort her ex-boyfriend? You didn't need to weigh him to know his true character. I quickly formed a plan. I told Sarah that this handbag only slightly outshone Grace. To completely crush her, I would give her another surprise tomorrow. The next evening, I invited Sarah to dinner and brought her 2 small gifts, a Van Arpels necklace and bracelet set, and a Cartier watch. Sarah went completely wild, hinting strongly that she wanted to go home with me that night. I told her, I have plans tonight. These aren't just for you to show off at the class reunion. I want you to find an opportunity to flaunt them in front of Grace in the next couple of days. What? You want me to reveal my trump card to her now? Wouldn't that significantly reduce its impact at the class reunion? She was no longer trying to hide her true intentions. I smiled and explained to her, think about it, with her personality, would she ever allow you to outshine her at the class reunion? And which would sting more, being publicly shamed, or being exposed by his wife? Sarah stared at me blankly, and it took her a long time to snap out of it. She covered her mouth and chuckled, are we really going to play this dirty? If it's not brutal enough, how will it truly hurt? Sarah met up with Grace as planned and subtly, yet deliberately, showed off her new accessories. According to Sarah, Grace couldn't hold it together. Her face immediately turned green with envy. Then she kept pestering Sarah, asking where she got these things. Sarah, feigning mystery, simply said she had a new boyfriend who was very generous. Grace had no idea about my true financial situation, so it wouldn't even occur to her that it was me. She even sarcastically suggested that Sarah bring her boyfriend to the class reunion, so everyone could get an eye-opener. Sarah half-heartedly agreed, and the 2 of them promised each other they would both bring their boyfriends to the reunion. Of course, this was actually my suggestion. After all, what's a lively event without Marcus there to add to the fun? In no time, the day of the class reunion arrived. The venue was the private ballroom at the Grandview. Grace had been the class beauty back in college, so her entrance immediately drew everyone's attention. Frankly, Marcus wasn't bad looking, and after dressing up, he looked somewhat like a well-to-do heir. As soon as they sat down, a few sycophants immediately started showering them with compliments. The class beauty certainly makes an extraordinary entrance. How is it that she shows no signs of the grind of working life? She's even more beautiful. And her boyfriend, his demeanor is different. Could he be a senior executive at some big company? Marcus feigned modesty, bowing slightly and waving his hand, saying, oh, no, I'm just a working professional like everyone else. Honestly, that guy really perfected his act of putting on a respectable front. Grace just smiled demurely, lightly saying, oh, no, I'm getting old. She then tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, feigning embarrassment. Immediately, someone with sharp eyes noticed the Rolex on her wrist. My goodness, that Rolex model is really hard to get. Many stores can't even get it at inflated prices. I can't believe the class beauty has one. Grace pretended to be caught off guard and awkwardly tugged at her sleeve to cover the watch. Oh, no, my boyfriend took me on a trip abroad, and we happened to find it at a duty-free shop, so he bought it. When saw the watch, a flicker of doubt clearly crossed his eyes. But since Grace had attributed all the credit to him in front of everyone, he couldn't very well question her. The Crow. Dee started cheering, wow, that's impressive. buying a Rolex as if it were nothing. Someone's definitely treating us to dinner tonight, right? Grace looked at Marcus. That depends on whether he's willing. With that much flattery, even if he wasn't willing, he had no choice but to force a smile and say yes. Everyone resumed their praise. Surprisingly, Grace didn't get carried away by the compliments. She still remembered her biggest rival today, Sarah. Enough about me, everyone. Today's star is Sarah. She has a new boyfriend who's supposedly amazing. He's making his debut today, and we'll all be bowing down to him later. With a shift in tone, she redirected everyone's attention. I observed all of this from a distance, quite satisfied with the progress. After all, how can you bring someone crashing down if you don't first let them soar to the sky? Sarah entered just in time for the last-minute entrance, clearly enjoying being the center of attention, especially when it came to competing with Grace. When saw Sarah arrive, she practically lunged forward, eager to grab her attention. Waving and feigning closeness, she circled around, looking everywhere. Where's your boyfriend? Didn't you say you were bringing him today? Sarah glanced at Grace's wrist and replied dismissively, he'll be here. He's very busy, he's almost here. So mysterious, how accomplished can he be, to be kept so under wraps? Sarah gave Grace a meaningful look. You might be surprised, she said. Just try not to be too shocked when he arrives. After enough pleasantries, the party was finally about to begin. Most gatherings tend to be the same, some people boasting, others showing off, some trying to flirt, some networking, and a few just quietly eating and drinking, oblivious to everything else. It was clear that Grace was very curious about Sarah's new boyfriend. She genuinely wanted to know what kind of man could transform Sarah so completely in such a short time, and kept pressing her, where's your boyfriend? Why isn't he here yet? Sarah's answer was always, he's almost here. Sarah, you're not making up a boyfriend to fool us, are you? We're all classmates, no need for that. Grace chuckled after saying this. The next moment, the ballroom doors opened. Everyone thought it was Sarah's boyfriend arriving, and collectively turned their heads towards the entrance with an audible wow. A short and stout, nervous young man, holding a bouquet of flowers, stood at the doorway. This image was distinctly different from everyone's imagined idea of Sarah's boyfriend, as their wow-shaped mouths remained wide open. Grace's expression immediately turned sour, while only Sarah calmly continued to serve herself food. The young man timidly walked over to Grace, pressed the flowers into her phone, his voice trembling. Grace, I'm here. The sudden turn of events was too much to process, and everyone still held their wow expression, unanimously turning their heads to look at Grace. At this point, someone quietly speculated, is he here to propose? Grace awkwardly pulled the young man aside. Danny, what are you doing here? Danny looked completely bewildered. Didn't you say the class reunion was for partners, and told me to come meet your friends? Everyone's mouths finally closed, replaced by ears perked up in keen interest. Grace panicked. When did I ever tell you to come? Danny was even more flustered. Didn't you text me saying your phone battery died, and asked me to come to the party to make an appearance for you? Grace realized someone was playing a trick on her, but the current situation didn't allow for an explanation. She could only urge Danny to leave quickly. No, Grace, is this really enough? Or maybe I can wait for you outside, and we can catch a movie after the party ends? By this time, everyone had gone from quiet whispering to loud discussions. Marcus could no longer sit still. He walked over with a dark expression. Grace, who is he? What's going on? Before could even explain, the door creaked open again. A tall, thin young man was craning his neck to look inside. Seeing surrounded by Danny and Marcus, he immediately rushed in. What are you doing? Grace, don't be scared, I'll protect you. Everyone's mouths fell open once more. The more they talked, the more confused they became, but they soon figured out their respective relationships. Verbal arguments gradually escalated into physical shoving, but it was clear these guys were the tamer types, and no one came to blows. I watched all of this with great interest from a distance. That's right, Sarah had provided me with their numbers, and I had sent all the messages. Though I had used them this time, helping them see Grace's true colors could be considered a good thing. Grace was completely breaking down. The group was in utter chaos. She had already guessed Sarah was behind it all, so she pushed her way out of the crowd and rushed over to Sarah, saying with a menacing look, "This is all you're doing, isn't it?" Without a word, she grabbed a glass of water and threw it at Sarah's face. Sarah, not to be outdone, slapped her across the face, muttering, "You can't control your conquests, why blame me?" The two women started pulling each other's hair and fighting. The big one hadn't even arrived yet, and the scene was already this spectacular. No one noticed how a strange middle-aged woman broke through the crowd, and in a few quick strides rushed to Grace's side. She grabbed Grace by the hair and started slapping her with full force, left and right. "You bitch, how dare you seduce my husband? Damn it, do you have a death wish? Slut, how could you go for such an old man? And made my husband buy you a watch? I think you're a real piece of work, acting like a gold digger. Why don't you just become a prostitute?" Grace was terrified, and knowing she was in the wrong, didn't dare fight back. The arrival of this big one finally tore of Grace's last shred of dignity. Because the commotion was so loud, some classmates, fearing trouble, filed a police report, but many others recorded video on their phones, whether for evidence for the police or to keep as a souvenir of the party, to rewatch and savor at home. Hotel security came in first, separating those who were fighting, leaving the rest for the police to handle when they arrived. Finally, it was my turn to make an entrance. I walked directly to Sarah's side. Sarah immediately threw her arms around my neck, pointed her index finger at Grace, and said to me in a cutesy, saccharine voice, "She bullied me." Although I felt a bit disgusted, seeing Grace look at the two of us with a humiliated look, I felt incredibly satisfied. She finally understood that the mastermind behind everything tonight was none other than me. A few days later, Sarah tearfully contacted me again, telling me that the married old man's wife had filed a police report, demanding to reclaim all the gifts her husband had given Grace. I told her, "That's great. They got what they deserved." Sarah continued tearfully, "When she was scuffling with Grace that night, the Rolex watch got scratched, and tens of thousands of dollars in damages were required. She and Grace were expected to pay half and half." Well, but I wasn't the one fighting, was I? I hung up the phone and blocked her. I had calculated it, the bag I gave her, she could sell to cover the watch damages, it wouldn't be far off. As for the Van Arpels and Cartier pieces, they were just high-quality fakes worth less than 3,000 yuan combined. She can keep them as a souvenir. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.